Oh, it's, yeah, 2022. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So days to contract 7. Okay, that's right. What's going on here? So I always like these lines here. They kind of mean a little bit to me. So median sold price says, I have another report that says 580, but 570, big difference. And then from 2021 at 450. So, I mean, that's a huge increase. It's a 26.7% change. So lots of equity. Now's the time to, if you have any equity, cash it out and buy some more properties, right? Let's see, active inventory. We got very low inventory, and it's funny because we honestly, so January 2022, 244, January 2021, 272. They're getting snatched up like that though, really super quick. So it's not a huge difference, but and then our month supply of inventory, if nothing else went on the market within just over half a month, we would deplete what we have in inventory because it's so low. Anyway, just some information I thought would be kind of cool. And then get this kind of off. And we'll go around the room real quick. So not manufactured, multifamily. I just kind of wanted to pull in what's going on with multifamily, all of Reno, anything that's not already under contract. There's only 8. So multifamily kind of goes like this. Prices are going up in the multifamily as well. So of course, this over here is a 12 unit and 8 unit. This one's a 5. That's a 4. Over on Third Acre for $980,000 for a 4 unit, 3 2-bedrooms and 1 3-bedroom. Multifamily was what penciled out, but now it's even getting a little bit more difficult for that too. So anyway, what I'd love to do is just go around the room. If you guys don't mind, there's a lot of you. So if you can be quickly, just say what your name is, what you are here for, or what's your focus. So for me, multifamily, single family, if it pencils out. And I don't really like the dirty, stinky stuff, but I have lots of investors that do. So if you've got some that's dirty, stinky, I've got a buyer for you. Hi, go ahead and grab one of those. Do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Jason. I'm here to just continue learning, trying to grow. I'm probably looking at trying to purchase my first investment property within the year, maybe next year. Actually, this year. So that's basically it for my report.
Okay.
Chandler, I've been here for a couple of months, but for those of you not familiar, I was talking about how I was house hacking my house the last time. Looking to start acquiring new investment properties within the next couple of months because I'm now officially starting my company in just real estate and other asset acquisition. Beyond that, I'm focusing on like just single families for right now.
Okay.
So.
Howdy. My name's Devin Montesano. Right now, I'm just kind of focusing on small multifamily, less than 20, between 5, or large single family that you can rent out room by room.
Hi, I'm Dean. I was looking at multifamily as investment. Hopefully, one would be owner occupied with cash flow still, but we'll see how the market turns now.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll get back to you.
My name is Joanna. I live in actually from South Florida. Mostly in note investing. Some land right now too. Education on that.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure there's some people in here that know some developers that can connect you with. I know some. And
actually in like South of there's Joshua Street.
oh, lovely.
So
sorry, the notes, there's a group in Carson that was meeting for a while. Were you part of them?
Dawn.
I think so.
Yeah.
I haven't been, I just heard so many good things, so.
Kind of an MIA.
She did.
Yeah.
I know the COVID thing kind of weird stuff.
Is Matt.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
John Spillwa, I'm an investor, realtor, educator, we're all kinds of hats, I guess. Like commercial stuff, some industrial, some retail, and actually investing out of state. Even Dayton, Ohio, we bought a fixer, 10 units that was gonna be a 6-month project or longer. For, I think we paid 200, a little over 200 for it. And
Wow.
before we got through the city for permits, we got an offer for 300. And, the market's crazy there, although you can still find stuff that actually makes sense. Depends.
Where is this?
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio. Okay.
Dayton, Cincinnati, that whole area.
Yeah.
I know there's people in the room who find stuff all over in Reno, and I'm just not one of them, I guess. That pencil. So that's with the new stuff, or I'm sorry, single family people moving in. It seems to me that we got to reach a threshold where, and we're probably already there, the average person in Reno can't afford the average home for sure.
Yeah.
At some point, I think it's got to flatten out, although everything I hear is the same what everybody else is hearing. The demand is so much higher than the supply.
Mm-hmm.
Prices are going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
So, the my crystal ball's so foggy.
Shine it up.
I'm Barbara Cox. I'm a private lender, and I also have a rental property that I'm looking to sell with owner financing.
Okay. Very
In
good.
Sparks, like to get out of that, and I came here to listen to Sean talk.
Oh, very good. Make him nervous.
No, we won't be.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your property in Sparks?
Well, it's a little bit early right now. My tenant is very ill, so
Oh,
I can't be showing it yet, but she's just like the dream tenant, and it's hard for me to sell this property, but it's my last rental and I've been selling them off. And I want to go in a different direction with I lend out of my solo 401k, self-directed IRA.
mhm.
And so I want to go in more in that direction than be the landlord.
Gotcha.
And this property's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage in Sparks.
Okay.
It's in really good shape. I fixed it up after the last tenant trashed it.
Gotcha.
And now she's in there taking really good care of it. I was
Yeah.
hoping that she'd buy it on owner financing, but
Yeah.
doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Darn it.
So then I thought, oh, maybe I could sell it to an investor.
Yeah.
On owner financing.
Absolutely.
And that could work.
Well, see, there you go. Like it.
My name is Federico, and I'm here with my girlfriend Janelle.
He always says that to me. I'm Janelle, and I've been in real estate for 7 years now. Doing investing, looking at doing like the BRRRR method, trying to pick up property that needs work and then turn around and refinance it, rent it out. Been struggling in this market. We are looking for things with owner financing, so we're here to learn about hard money, and we've kind of struggled with that as well. But then it's a struggle because like we just put an offer on a house a little while, like a week and a half ago. We got outbid. We bid 15,000 over, 5 offers on the property, and we got outbid still. So it was only on the market for 2 days. So it's crazy. But we're not giving up, and we've got a little bit of land out here.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, that's
good.
we're members of Fortune Builders, so we're going through that training process, and the next training is in Chicago, which I don't want to go to, but you got to pick up and go because it's important to be there and network and stay focused.
Yeah, you never know where the next idea or deal is gonna
Exactly.
be, so that's good.
Definitely.
Awesome. I have a couple clients that, it's like offer, several houses. I think one of them, we went to the fourth house, put in a really good offer, promised on appraisal value and all that kind of stuff. And finally, I'm like, hey, let's go look at these new homes. I'm like, can you stretch your budget? And he goes, well, how does this work? And I'm like, you're not having to outbid or no one's going to overbid you. You put a deposit down and you get the house. He goes, that sounds great.
So much easier.
And
cut
so
out
we
the
did
headache.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm Colton Loretz. I just bought my first property, live and flip. So that's my strategy right now, just because of how things are going with family planning and everything.
nice.
So I got lucky, bought a property where the trustee sale and they were fighting, the kids were fighting over it. Mid renovation, so we're gonna do the flooring, the walls, already painted everything, so.
Wow.
So that's my current strategy. I think eventually transition to multifamily. And as my day job, I'm also a transactional attorney, so curious about the hard running lending presentations. and everything.
Nice.
I'm Mitch, I'm an investor. I buy ugly, stinky things and make it nice. I'm not sure what else, but yeah.
I'm Cody. I have one out-of-state investment property, rental property. And right now I'm also looking for a live and flip deal. Been having a tough time as well. Last property went up against 32 other offers. Pretty nuts. So if
I
anybody's
think
got
we
a,
were in that one.
oh yeah,
I think my client was in that one,
yeah, it was in West University area.
Yeah, and they were like, we're shutting it off. They
Oh,
cut
really?
it off like a day earlier than they were going to.
Yeah,
They just
absolutely
decided
nuts.
on Saturday instead
So-
of Sunday, yeah.
If anybody
Really?
has a live and flip deal or a flip deal, that's
Yeah,
what I'm looking for.
good.
Hi, I'm Holly, and this is my son, Aiden, and we're just here saving and learning, and looking at some out-of-state stuff in West Virginia and North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm Emma Oriana McKay. I'm an architect and interior designer, podcast host, and I'm here just learning about the market, keeping tabs on things so I can be a resource for my clients and for my flipper.
I'm Jair. I'm here to learn about multifamily investing, and hopefully within the next year, I'm able to buy my first property.
Very good.
I'm Nick. I'm a software engineer here in Reno. I have one rental property out instead that I bought during COVID. I never bought in person, so doing good with that, but looking more for rentals outside of the state because it's too expensive for me here because I've been here my whole life, so I know the average prices of these homes and they're looking for it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
My name is Joe. I'm a former realtor, full-time investor. I bought my first triplex with a house hack, picked up several more properties since then. And I'm here now because I don't have a W-2 job. And so picking up properties has become a little more difficult. So looking to learn more about the hard money.
Okay, very good.
My name is Greg, and I am looking for my next single family.
Okay.
But what are you gonna do?
I'm Robert Hughes. I'm with Team Review and broker. I'm also an investor. Answer questions about property management and learning myself. So.
Awesome, very good.
Keith Wilson, I just moved here 4 days ago, so I'm just trying to get a gauge on the market for some family. Looking for people to partner with on this.
Very good.
Well, in a shit show.
Where are you moving from?
that other state.
Shoot your side of the hill?
Sorry. Happy to be here. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to cover prices. No, I'm not one of them yet. Yes.
Got a couple of rental properties.
Awesome. So without further ado, I want to introduce Sean, who called me a couple weeks ago and said, yeah, I haven't been in a while. I was thinking of coming. I think I'm gonna be there next month. And I was like, oh, great. Can you speak? And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can put something together. So I always catch people on the fly. That's how I got Robert. He's like, anyway, I wanted to introduce Sean McDonald. He's been with Socotra for 7 years. And so he's a plethora of knowledge. He was just sharing with me some information about, the majority of their portfolio right now. So I'm excited to hear what you have to share. Would you like to go ahead and come on up? I'll get your presentation up, and you want to tell us more about yourself?
Yeah. So, yes, I am Sean McDonald, private money, hard money lender. My company is Socotra, the company I work for, I should say, is Socotra Capital. They are based out of California. I am based out of Nevada. Been here the entire time. I'm the only loan originator in Nevada, actually the only employee in Nevada. I was lucky enough to open this office with a gentleman who's retired since, and he left me the keys to the car. So we lend on all sorts of investment properties. As Ginger was kind of alluding to, we have morphed into more of a commercial lender than residential. We're happy to do residential, but as you all know, it's hard to get good deals in residential. And so just sort of where our company has found its level has been in the commercial realm. So I kind of made the decision that I was just going to go over this and then do a Q&A and not be at all salesy. So any questions you guys ask, I promise I will answer as honestly and straightforward as I can. That being said, everything in hard money depends. So you're gonna get that a lot. So educational wise, there's 3 reasons people use hard money. It's either the borrower doesn't qualify, the property doesn't qualify, or the transaction needs to move too quickly. I would say right now in residential, the #1 thing we're doing is speed. So obviously it's super competitive, all cash offers are winning today. We can close quick. 2-3 weeks ago, I got a call about this time on a Wednesday night from a gentleman who had been left at the altar by his lender. He had his entire loan package, appraisal, prelims, everything. So he sent me everything on Wednesday night. We had docs to title Thursday by noon, and we closed that deal on Friday. So that's where we shine right now, especially in residential. Property doesn't qualify, meaning, doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a bathroom, can't get a loan on it in that regard. Borrower doesn't qualify. Our loan to values are considerably less than bank loans. We're capping out at about 65% LTV, but in exchange for that, you can have a 450 credit score and not file taxes and be a big mess on that front. Really, the only thing from the borrower standpoint that will disqualify you from a loan is liens, judgments, back taxes, things like that, that would jeopardize our lien position. We want a first deed of trust, and we don't want a spot where Uncle Sam is saying, we've got the first. So we'll lend on residential. I mean, we'll lend on everything. We'll lend on land. We'll lend on cannabis properties, we'll lend on 1 to 4 residential, we'll lend on 5+ unit multifamily. Gas stations and hotels are really popular right now. Those are calls we're getting a lot. I think that's because the banks are getting a little more picky. And those hotels, I mean, hotels had a hard time through COVID, obviously, so their financials aren't great. And then I've heard a lot of you guys talk about borrowing out of or buying out of state. This area in here, which is where everybody's going, we don't lend. But we're in about half the states right now, and expanding pretty quickly. Yeah, so this touches on, so another thing with borrower deficiencies, recent short sales, which let's see, have it all anymore, but bankruptcies, things like that. You could be a day removed from bankruptcy. We're actually working on a couple deals right now where people are currently in bankruptcy, and we're going to help them reorganize and recast their debt. Things like that. But we don't care where your down payment comes from. You can, I don't care, as long as it makes it into escrow. It does have to come from a U.S. bank account. Escrow won't take it if it's outside of a U.S. bank account, generally speaking, or it gets a lot messier in that way. But the down payment, we don't source where that comes from. It doesn't have to sit in the account for a couple months. It doesn't have to come from W-2 income, all that stuff. Speed. So I already touched on this. I would say the Reno market's tough because it's virtually impossible to get an appraisal turnaround quickly. If we're doing a purchase money transaction where there's no rehab, so it's pretty obvious, you're either overpaying or the price you're paying is decent. I can get by with just doing a BPO and I can still close in a week to 10 days. If you're doing a fix and flip, we do require that there's an appraisal done because we have to get that after repair value to kind of juice up your loan amount to lend on rehab. So those are still taking 4 weeks to get appraisal at this point. It's a bit of a nightmare. But other markets, California, Sacramento, Northern California, we can close even fix and flips in 10 days. Vegas, we can close fix and flips in 10 days. If anybody's got a good lead on an appraiser that's willing to turn stuff around quick, we're lucky we don't have to go through the appraisal management company. We can go direct to appraisers. So they want $1,000 to turn it around in a week. We can do that. Everyone in Reno, they don't care. They're printing so much money right now, I guess, that they can't be bothered to break their mold. We had a guy, he's gotten too busy. Probate's a good one. I mean, we're seeing stuff like this where there's a lot of hurry up and wait, and maybe the court wants to see an all cash offer. We can help there too. The court wants to see an all cash offer for surety of closing. You can give them an all cash offer and then we can close. So fix and flips, we'll do anything. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. A few years ago, we did an SRO in Sparks that was pretty nasty. That was a fix and flip. No prepayment penalties. So any loans we do with a term of 12 months or less, we'll do it with no prepayment penalties, no minimum interest. The quicker you can get in and out of it, the better. Matter of fact, that quick close in Vegas that we did, they just paid that loan down by over half this week, and it's literally been less than 16 days since we closed. So short term or long term, we can do a flip to a fix and hold. So we could do like a 3, a 5, a 7-year loan where we're lending on the acquisition and the rehab, and then you slide a tenant in there. One thing we absolutely will not lend on are owner occupied residences. The Dodd-Frank Act regulated us out of that, so consumer loans are it's really unfortunate because those people selling in California and buying in Nevada oftentimes need a loan, but 75% of project costs. So I mentioned 65% LTV earlier. So 75% of project cost is on a fix and flip or even a commercial. We'll lend on both the purchase price and the rehab. So that's how we get 75% of purchase plus 75% of the rehab, not to exceed 60 or 65% of the after repair value as completed. Our interest rates, so as interest rates are going up with the banks, they've been going down with us. This morning, this slide said 9 to 13, changed it to 8 to 12, and it's realistically like 7 to 11. I don't know how long that 7 to 11 is going to last though, but we've got a chunk of our portfolio earmarked for cheaper rates. The cheaper rates are only available on the longer term, or if you're willing to commit to a certain amount of interest, so 2 or 3 year prepayment penalty, we can get rates down into the 7s. I just got quoted 5% on a cash out refi of SFR at 60% LTV, so these things are getting closer and closer together. And the amount of documentation they wanted from me to do the 5% loan was mind-boggling. We are flexible on amortization. We'll do a 10, 15, or 20-year amortization table, due in anywhere from 3, 5, 7, 10 years. We're extremely flexible on term, and all of that stuff is negotiable for sure. This is a good one for this group. We will lend, as I said, we'll lend to anyone. We'll also lend to pretty much any entities. So we can lend to trusts, we can lend to individuals, corporations. This non-recourse loan to IRAs is a big one. Because obviously if you're operating in your IRA, you can't guarantee the note. You can't personally make money, you can't commingle that. So banks, I don't believe will do that. And but again, we're flexible. So the application process is super easy. If you had a deal, you're like, oh, I see this property, I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if I can make it work. All I need is the property address, how much you're paying for it, how much you're putting into it, and what you think it's going to be worth once it's completed. If you got me that tonight, I would have terms for you tomorrow by 10 a.m. Our company is 25 employees total, but there's about 4 or 5 loan originators, and there's 2 people. There's a 2-person loan committee. They meet every morning at 9 a.m. They go through all the deals that we have, kind of put into the system, and they price them. We're certainly running and gunning. A lot of information comes later, and things may change, but for the most part, I'd say 85–90% of the deals that we submit get approved within 24 hours, stay that way. If they change, something has changed materially with the deal. A lot of times, borrowers are going to have a rosier view of things than the underwriter will. So, you'll call and have this wonderful deal, and then we start kind of digging in. Maybe it's not such a great deal. Not a deal that we, still we could do, but not 7% interest anymore. once we get down the road of, we've got a deal, you've got it in contract, the first thing we do is order an appraisal, because that's the slow horse. Open up escrow, if it's not already been open, if it's a refinance. And we get a very minimal amount of documentation. We'll run your credit, we want 2 bank statements, 2 years tax returns, typically a letter of explanation to stuff in the file, so if somebody opens it in 3 or 4 or 5 years, they know, okay, yeah, that's what was going on. And then for the bank statements, like I said, I don't care where the down payment's coming from. Just want to see that you have a bank statement that we can pull payments from in the future. For the tax returns, I've personally done a loan for a guy who wrote off $1 million a year for the 2 years of tax returns we had, but he filed his taxes, so better than many of our borrowers. And then obviously we need the entity docs to just so you can actually use that entity to take out a loan. That stuff is all straightforward, and that'll all be required by title and escrow besides us. So this was one of my deals. This was one of my deals we actually foreclosed on. So this was a 6,600 square foot mixed use retail, office, and residential. So on the first, this was actually 2 properties. One of the properties on the first floor was like a car mechanic. And then upstairs was 1 or 2 residential units. And then around the corner, there was a little grocery store and an ice cream shop. So we crossed both of those properties. The borrower owned the auto shop and residential unit, and he was buying the grocery store around the corner. So what we did was we made a 59% loan to value loan, short term, so he could just so he could get in there. His plan, he had bought a bunch of stuff around there. His plan was to redevelop the area. Didn't end up coming to fruition, but he ended up coming in with no new cash because he owned the mixed use property free and clear. So we just grabbed both properties and he came in with no cash. That was so I think that's it. I do want to kind of go over so hard money, private money, use them interchangeably. They sometimes get a bad rap, like we're not cheap, right? Our interest rates are in that 7 to 11, 8 to 12% range, but the use is there. As you guys all know, it's such a competitive market. It doesn't matter the rate you're paying if you can't ever get into the property. And if you are able to utilize our money short term and then turn around and refi into a bank loan, does it matter that you paid 2, 3, 4, 5% more than a bank loan for 6 months? In the big scheme of things, probably not. We are seeing a lot of 1031 exchanges now. But that's another spot where speed and reliability is important because there's a finite timeline. If you don't close out that 1031 in the prescribed timeline, you're gonna have to pay Uncle Sam his due. Our rates are way cheaper than so certainly not a good fit for somebody that is bankable in a market where they can close in 30 to 60 days. But in this hyper competitive market where you really have to put your best foot forward to make offers, hard money can be a really good tool to get there. It can also help you build your portfolio. We see a lot of our bigger borrowers leverage us and other investors to get into multiple properties. Like they come in with minimal cash of their own, they form an LLC, other investors invest, we lend, all of a sudden they're into a multi-million-dollar deal for like 5% of their own cash. Because they're leveraging everyone. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's leverage. So specific questions? Mr. Spinoza?
No, I'd just like to put in a pitch for Sean. They'll do stuff, the transaction that he showed you, mixed use. We've got residential and auto shop downstairs. Try and get a bank to even look at that. So as long as the equity's there. The other thing I like about him is he'll tell you no way. Well, seriously, the first day rather than spring you out for a month and then say, oh, by the way, we're closing tomorrow, but we can't because. So it's
I say no way to a fault. My colleagues would tell me, but you will get a quick yes or no out of us. Absolutely.
So that's worth a lot. Yeah, I'll go find someone who will do it.
That's what we say. Yeses and nos you can do something with. Maybes, just you end up kicking the can down.
Where do you guys get your money from?
So originally, I probably should. The company was started by two guys, Adam Spay and John Angolia. John Angolia's grandfather was Tony of Tony's Fine Foods, Columbus Salami. They were the largest family-owned food distributor west of the Mississippi until like 2016. And they sold for it was like 160 million or something. So a lot of the money came from that. Now it's the fund. So we have two funds, they're REITs. We have a lot of high net worth individual investors that are in the fund. So the short answer is we lend out of the two funds. The long answer is it started with Grandpa Tony. Grandpa Tony's got rich friends.
Do the individual investors approve the deals or is it in-house?
It's in-house. Yeah, so when you invest into the REIT, you got to sign a bunch of paperwork. Adam Spay is the fund manager. He gets sort of the final decision on how the fund invests. And obviously there's some fairly tight guidelines that you can't go around above. But no, the decision is made by one guy who sits in the office in Sacramento.
Do you also do things like transactional lending, and like contract assignments or something? So like where I'm not necessarily going to be liable for the actual cost of it, but the title or the seller wants to have money behind the offer first before the secondary buyer brings in his money.
I want to tell you yes, but I don't quite understand the question.
So like one of the strategies that I learned is like a contract pass through or assignment where I go in and I put in a cash offer on a house, put it under contract, and then turn around and sell that contract to somebody else.
Sure.
Before the deal even closes.
Sure.
There are some places I know in Texas, it's illegal to do that without funds behind your offer.
Really?
Right. So that's where transactional lending comes in, is where you have somebody backing your offer, but you're not ever really going to pay it unless for some reason a secondary buyer pulls through.
Well, so what I'm hearing is I would never actually make the loan.
No, you'd have to put it in his account for however long it takes him to wholesale.
Yeah.
No. So every loan that we do is a first deed of trust on real property.
Okay.
So if you so in that scenario, I guess, if you never took possession of the took ownership of the property, we wouldn't have any collateral to lend against, so we wouldn't be able to lend.
Okay.
But in Nevada, we just did one that was a double close. So like you said, somebody wholesaled the contract to the next guy. We lent to the final guy, but the guy in the middle, he owned it for a couple of seconds, I think.
Yeah.
But we lent to the end buyer. So for our purposes, we were lending to the end buyer. But I think we may have had some liability for those few seconds because our money had passed through for the first buyer to buy it and then the second buyer to own it.
Okay.
But that being said, I think title took that liability because I know we were never asked
Yeah.
about it.
I found a couple of title companies that were willing to do that in Reno, but you know, my main strategy is going to be lease options or like single family rentals, buy and holds, but
sure.
I also want to look into doing that because I have very limited capital to operate with myself right now. So,
Well, and so you can wholesale by writing an offer, Sean McDonald and or assignee, and then you can just assign the contract for $5,000 or whatever. And you're not having to deal with actually closing.
Yeah, you wouldn't need hard funds to back up, as long as it says assignee.
oh yeah, I forgot you're a transactional attorney.
Yeah.
Cool.
As long as your contract says assignee, you're good. They can't complain about it on the seller side.
What are your points?
2 to 4. Depends on geography mainly, and how difficult the deal is. But yeah, 2 to 4. I haven't charged 4 in a long time. I'd like to get 4.
So if you were to do a buy and hold, what would be your percentage down?
40%.
40%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can cross other stuff. I mean, we can get creative if you've got other properties. Yeah, but 40% is a pretty good rule for us.
Okay.
Occasionally, we can stretch to a 65 LTV, but it's not going to be, we're not going to want a long-term note. So we'll want 12, maybe 18 months on that loan. The shorter, the better if we're stretching LTV.
Gotcha.
Even if it's a buy, rehab and hold?
Well, so if it's a buy, rehab and hold, we'll do 75% of the cost, not to exceed 60% of the ARV.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, and that's an art, not a science. So, yeah.
Will you loan on mobiles or manufactured homes?
If they're converted to real property, yes. I get asked that all the time, but nobody ever brings me a deal.
Because they don't have the property.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, we're seeing it now. Those are all first-time home buyer, or a lot of those are first-time home buyers trying to get into those. So what we won't do that I get approached about a lot is buy the land, bring in the manufactured home. The problem there is all of the value gets added like at once. And when we do a rehab loan, or in this case, a ground up, we hold back the rehab amount and release it back to you in draws as the project moves forward. So because you've got to pay the company to build the manufactured home off-site, they want whatever it is, 50% or something. That money's not really available. It's held back until the value is added to the real property. So it's just never doesn't work. I've tried.
You mentioned fix and flips. What would your LTV be on like a lot where you need to bring utilities to it and then subdivide and sell off lots? Is that something you've done in the past?
Yes.
Depends on the parcel.
Those suck.
Appreciate your honesty.
It depends. No, I mean, so those are really hard. You can appreciate as an attorney, where are you in the process, right? Like raw land, we're probably going to be at like 40%. In tentatively mapped stuff, we're going to be a little bit higher. Final map stuff even higher. So you're talking about bringing in utilities and stuff, so you're probably at least tentatively mapped. We're probably going to be at like 50%, and that's really going to depend on geography. Like we won't go to Fernley or Fallon. Might go to Dayton, maybe. Our preferred collateral when it comes to land is just an infill lot. because those are pretty straightforward. And if everything goes bad, at least it's curbed and guttered and there's utilities around. Those are tough, but land, you can't go to a bank to get land, so.
Probably in construction.
Yeah, and I get approached a lot about construction loans that they don't want to take, like, when you're talking about bringing utilities in and stuff, I don't think a construction loan would do it. You got to get to the point where you're ready to go vertical before the construction lender is comfortable with it. I think I'm no expert on that.
It depends on the lender.
Yeah, I think it's more local guys might be more willing, because they're keeping it local, they might be more willing to do it.
Yeah, and like, I do think Quad Bank and another one. Heritage does a lot of that stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of that is relationship based too, from what I understand. But 6 months ago, I would have told you we do no ground up construction. We're starting to do it. We're not super comfortable with it, so we're trying to keep the loan amounts fairly small and the project complexity fairly small. We did a development deal years ago down in the Sacramento area, and it was a complete nightmare. We had to take it back and build it out. It had to go into receivership because we didn't know how to build it. So that scarred us. That set us back for many years, just mentally, I think. And that's the problem with when there's one guy making the decision in Sacramento and he gets skittish about something. You can't go to the other underwriter. Complain. So, anything else?
Another one, if you were the lender that was doing like the first position lien, would you guys allow a second position?
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah, absolutely. General rule is we want to see at least 10% of your own money in.
Okay.
But we look at every deal. So if it makes sense, if you're getting a screaming deal somehow, and you've got no cash and you've got a partner, or a secondary lender, yeah, we're totally fine with that. I would say the lower your cash in goes, the lower our LTV in first is going to go. So I'd say if you're doing a 10% cash, we would probably be capped at 50. So 10%, 50, 40, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, that's something we do. We're comfortable with that. Secondary lenders tend to not like.
I want to be second.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be second.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be second. They don't want to be second behind.
You gotta start somewhere,
10%.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then some of them want that interest rate, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a guy take a third once, but he charged like 19%.
Right.
So if I did sell the property to my tenant and she was owner occupied, would I be violating Dodd-Frank?
I'm not an attorney, but no, I don't think so.
Probably
Because you're the seller.
Yeah.
I believe I'm certain seller carries are exempted from that, but I don't know how it works with you not being an owner occupied seller. I don't know if that changes, right? You're selling an investment.
Right.
So you may have some higher standard to be held to, but I
I'll
don't
ask
know.
my attorney, because now I've got a question in my mind. Okay.
I think
Probably not.
I think you're fine.
Okay.
I think you're fine, but I'm not giving legal advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
I have one, just not, I mean, it's not my thing, but I'm curious, do you sell your non-performing loans?
No. So we have a very high performance rate. So the end of 2021, so December 31st, 2021, we had 97.5% paid as agreed. And that included one borrower who was on default in like 5 loans. So if you take him out, we we're over 99%. So we don't have the need for it very often. And our LTVs are so low that it's generally beneficial to foreclose, to take it through the foreclosure process. But if things go sideways and we take back a bunch of them, I'm sure we would be open to selling them. So, yeah. You said you do you buy notes yourself? Got it. Yeah.
I've been on the phone back yet, but.
I mean, if you've got the stomach for it, those are the ones to get. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Our LTVs are so low, and the way the market's performed, you gotta get in your own way at this point to get foreclosed on. The few that, the guy who's got 5, there was arguably some fraud involved there. So he didn't care because I think he took the money and ran. We took back a restaurant in Sacramento. Sacramento had a hard time with COVID, and they were like, they took our loan out at 50% and then sunk a ton of money into the property. So like they were just in a bad spot and kind of just walked away from it. Top of my head, I don't know of any others that we have right now. So yeah, it's just not a business model for us at this point. All right, last call.
Just because your decision tree's so short, if that guy in Sacramento who had the restaurant, if he found another party to take over that loan, would be amenable to that?
Absolutely. So actually, and yeah, that may be a decent distribution list to get on, because that restaurant, before it went to the courthouse steps, we were slowly trying to find people to buy it, or to buy it, because we were pretty sure we were going to take it back. And so we were kind of trying to set up, like, we would lend on this thing again. Our LTV is now higher because of default interest and all that stuff, theoretically. And we're kind of willing to we'll break the mold on those properties we've taken back, definitely. We've done that in the past too. A couple in Truckee, actually. Might have been good to call you.
Got my number.
Did. All right, last call. Everybody good? Answered everyone's questions insignificantly enough. Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming.
Sure.
I know. He's like, it's gonna be another year before I come back. So next month we have Jennifer from Laughlin and Associates. I think some of you guys have set up LLCs with them. She's gonna come and present and talk about entity structure. Anthony and I actually just met with her this last week. She'll talk about limited liability companies, like kind of a quick review. She has a comparison chart. What names should you use? The difference between a single member LLC and otherwise, and all that kind of good stuff. But they basically help people form entities and then they manage them. She's the kind of coach that meets with you. And then you have someone that's assigned to you for, and then they got different levels and stuff that you guys can sign up for. Anyone's looking to set up LLCs or wants more information on what an LLC is, what kind of entity structure you should be in. That's who's going to be here next month. And she's really good. She puts together a really good presentation. She's very knowledgeable. And we're here every third Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. without fail in this room. So we don't move around. We're always here. So Jennifer. Last name. Young. Socotra used to be my assistant and her daughter. So anyway, she usually packs the house. I don't even remember. We had to go talk to her. So I was like, actually it was when we were in our meeting this last week. I'm like, hey, was you guys back? She goes, let me check my calendar. And then I'm like, you want to check it now? Is it? If any of you guys have someone that you think would be great for this group, it's gotta be real estate related, investor related. I mean, I would love to have like a developer come up and speak to our group or something like that, or anyway, if you guys have any ideas, just come up and ask me. I have a few contacts. Some of you guys probably have other contacts that maybe we have someone with talent out there that just turn off the lights on us. That might be their cue. They're like, hey, get out of the room. No, we still have time. So other than that, you can stick around and network. We can stick around until about 7:30. And as I mentioned, I haven't slept, so I'm probably gonna start out right at 7:30.